Hello, everyone. You know, when you hear that sound, it's time for your Sunday tonic conversation with the Love Crusader. And it's your best Sunday tonic. You don't want to miss it. We are here today with another wonderful topic and giving the responses and reactions that I've gotten to this topic before now. I expect it to be a bomb. So here we go. If you are just coming across this platform for the first time, it is called Conversation with the Love Crusader. It's the platform where we talk about love, we talk about life, we talk about relationships, all in a fun way. And you can subscribe to our channel. First of all, let me say thank you to all of our new subscribers. I see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. My SA family, thank you, thank you, thanks to all of you, my sisters, everyone who is subscribing. Welcome to the platform. Keep sharing, keep telling your friends, because what we are learning on this platform will bless someone. Will bless someone. All right, we are also on Facebook at Men Fences. We're on Instagram at menfences_love. We're on TikTok at menfences_love. You can connect with us on any of these channels. If you have a question, we have a WhatsApp number connected to our Facebook channel, and you can just send us. It will come directly to me, and we can answer your questions. You have a comment, you have a praise. I mean, we've been getting lots of praise from last week's Love Seat. Everyone loved OC and Omo. Yeah, it was a powerful edition. Okay, all right, let's not waste time with all of the long introductions. Like I said, this topic has been generating hit since I started advertising it. A lot of people kept saying, "Oh my God, I can't wait. Oh, I've been waiting for this. Oh, I need to hear this." Oh, so we're here. Share, call your friends, tell everyone that topic you've been waiting to hear and talk about is here. And please join the conversation. Don't just come and be quiet. I see you all coming. Join the conversation. Say hello to us. Let's know who is joining us. All right. I have my co-host in the house. Don't worry, I didn't do ladies first. I know. Emmanuel is here, my darling, my sweetheart, all the way from Canada. Dr. Emmanuel, always joining us on this platform. Thank you, Emmanuel. Welcome.
Great
Uh,
time, I believe.
yeah, welcome, welcome. And our special guest of honor, my darling, my sweetheart. She's been here before. If you missed it, you are in for a wonderful time today. She's one of my many blessings from South Africa. Mashudu Jacqueline is here, and she's single. So that's why she's here. Single, very single. I won't tell you what she told me the other day because I don't agree with it. As far as I'm concerned, she's single and searching. So this platform will just be the connection point. Okay, anyways, we're talking about love and singlehood today. So we'll talk with someone who is single. Let her give us, her version, her experience of what it's like to be single and what the single market looks like now. I'm going to confess one thing before we start. Can I say I was never single? Does it make sense to say that? Because I kind of didn't have that spinsterhood time. My husband was a cradle snatcher. You know what that means? Yeah. They didn't allow me grow. I didn't really live on my own. I didn't get to be, one of those single girls. I was just fresh from university, came back home, got back home, and this man just cut me. So, but I have spoken to a lot of singles, and we're going to share all of the experience that we can by God's grace. Let's hit the ball rolling. I don't want to waste time because I know this topic is not going to finish today, and we plan to continue the topic next week. So just make it a date with us. Let's start. My very first question, which I've been asking all week: can everyone marry? Let's start with Emmanuel. Just because Emmanuel is married, then we'll come to Mashudu. Will everyone marry? Will everyone marry? Is marriage for everyone?
That's a great question. And actually, this is a great topic that we're dealing with today. Well, if we ask the question, can we are giving the answer should be based on probability or possibility. And can means yes. everyone can, but will everyone get married? Now, that now opens the door to all kinds of extenuating circumstances, both anticipated and unanticipated. So, will everyone marry? You cannot give a definite yes to that question. Should everyone marry? You also cannot give a definite yes to that question because you really can't speak for everyone, right? So, yes, everyone can, but whether or not everyone will or everyone should, it's a mixed bag. It's between yes and no.
Okay, Moshidi, what do you think?
Yeah, I really like his answer because I share the same sentiment. The word of God says, you know, um, marriage is important and all of those things, but we live in a different um, world. The dynamics are different. So, and people make decision based on what I can say I don't want to get married now, but 2 years later, I would say I want to get married. So, will everyone get married? That's God's discretion. And because a lot of I always hear people say this thing that the word I don't know, maybe it's also coming from, and I'm glad mommy you spoke about that you've never really been single. So certain things, I think people that have never been single and people that are married, there are certain things you easily say, and I'm thinking like, do you know what you're talking about? you know there are ways like people like, not everyone is ever going to get married. I think it's a word that we cannot just throw in easily to tell people that the questions we can ask. So whether everybody is going to get married, that's God's discretion. uh, will people get married? Do people want to get married? It's also different things for different reasons for different people.
Hmm. Okay, thank you. I love the response. So I think we should. The only phrase I want to rephrase there is Emmy saying everyone can. I think not everyone can, but anyone can. I think it's a
Yes.
matter of anyone, um and I before I used to say anyone who wanted to, but now I'm beginning to understand that not everyone who wants to marry actually ends up getting married. Did
That's
I
the
say that?
sad
Did I
reality
say that well?
for those that want to get married. Yes.
Before I used to say, I mean, if you desire it, chances are you will get it or you will have it, right? But now, as I say, grow more in counseling and get to meet more people and talk more about relationship, and I come to discover that there are people who have the yearning, they have the desire, but it's not coming. So it's anyone can, um, but whether everyone will, that's another thing. That's another thing. Like Emmanuel said, I don't think everyone will marry. But have your say. I mean, we have people listening to us. Tell us what you think. Will everyone marry? Okay. Um. So if not everyone will marry, how do I know if marriage is for me? How do I even begin to say, okay, if it's not written down and labeled that everyone who comes to this world must marry, how do I know if I should marry, if I am marriageable, if you know what I mean, if I am going to be one of those who will marry?
um Mr. Emmanuel, can I come in? Or you
Sure,
I
please go
was
ahead.
Sure, sure.
Go
Mommy,
ahead,
can you just
please.
repeat a bit? Because I would like to answer it. I want to unpackage it properly as
So
you've asked, and I want to be so
what I
honest.
said
Yes.
is, if not everyone will marry, then how do I know if I am one of those who will marry? How do I know if marriage is for me?
Okay, that's a very good one.
Mhm.
It also, I'm not obviously talking for everyone. It's for the few people, and obviously, when it comes to that question, whether I'm marriageable or, all of those kind of things. Um, the world has also we are socialized in a certain way that a married woman should look like this, person like this, whatever, all of those things. And people have biblicalized or changed things that the way the Bible should define marriage, how a marriage should look like. So sometimes the fact that someone would feel like they're not married material is based on the societal perception of why, because people make comments like I think people think they know why people don't sing, why people are single, because I think those are, it's God's like, again, it's his discretion why people are single, why people are married, and all those things. So often I can feel like I'm not a married material based on the fact that I've had several failures in relationship. I've been married before, it did not work. I've had what is it, engagements that failed. So that can also make you feel like you are not married material, or you're not capable of getting married. It's based on those experiences. And also the way that I'm saying that I feel is also in a way is biblical and unbiblical. I would say it in this way. Paul spoke about marriage and relationships. And I think we must also shy away from not acknowledging that the circumstances of the Paul then and the circumstances of Mashudu now were different. So when people now throw in words, to me, I'll call it a jab, and especially from Christian, because you take in words in the Bible and you come and throw it to people and say to them, no, like saying not everybody's gonna get married, because you check your audience, then you can have that. To me, you can have that conversation, but not to certain platforms, because not everybody is in that is spiritually mature to understand exactly what this means. So based on sometimes societal perception, on societal notion, people feel like they are not married material based on that. I'm saying this because I also have opportunities to have conversations with different women, married and unmarried, with different issues. So sometimes it's our society that makes us feel the way inadequate, that you end up feeling like you are not marriageable. But however, as a child of the Most High God, as a beautiful creature of God, because the Bible says in Genesis, God said to let us make men in our image, right? And they had a meeting to talk about how they create us. God completed us. We're perfect in him, and we're like him. So if I have the desire, even the word says in Philippians 2, whereby it says the good desires that we have, God places them. So if I have a desire to want to get married, it means I can get married. When is God's discretion again? It goes back to God. And I would like to use my own example, if I may. Like the way we are also socialized. We are socialized that you grow up, you get married, your life. So you sometimes your whole life you base this on wanting to complete school, wanting to get married, because that's what they say. This is how the society, and also biblical as well. So what happens is, now you get to be in an opportunity where you have relationships that don't work the way you are. Marriage doesn't work the way we were anticipating to work. You end up being single, right? And when you're single, then you have to now navigate through your single life. And you still don't give up on God, on what he has said, his promise, that I believe in what God has said to me. But when I look at God and how he works, that's what I'm saying, that people sometimes they use words they don't understand. God has a purpose for everything. And I look at how my life was and how I've been single, and I look at it, I'm like, you know what? One day I realized that I think it was the Holy Spirit, or it was God telling me why I have been single. And I looked at it this way, and had I been married earlier, after everything, I wouldn't have brought up my children the way I have. Maybe I would have married someone who would not allow me to raise my children the way I would have raised them. And I saw the issues that my children had at some point that I also had. Because remember, being a young mom, you still need to be mothered yourself. You still need to be, you don't even know yourself. So there's a lot of things that happens in between there. So what happens is that I look back and I'm like, wow, and actually I laughed at it. I'm like, oh, and all along I was angry at God. I'm like, why am I not getting married? Why is this and this? And I realized that, okay, he has a plan in all these things. And
Yeah.
at some point, you please grow up and you are ready for the real things. So I think I just needed to unpackage it that way to say that it's dynamic. We can't just call it one thing.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you that yeah, society, um experiences, different, there are different reasons why people would say, how do I know if marriage is for me? Emmanuel, do you want to help us?
Mm.
um I mean, she just raised a point which is very valid, which I said I must talk about when we talk about this topic, and that is the fact of the influence of nurture, the environment that we are brought up in. In fact, nature and nurture. I mean, if you go, for example, to Africa, um, if you are from Africa and you are a young man and a young girl, like she said, you're wired. The tendency is go to school, graduate, have a degree or whatever, learn a trade. But the moment as a man, for example, you're earning money, and as a woman, you've gone through school. The next thing is, where is the man? Where's the woman? Where are you getting married? You start getting pressures from parents, start getting pressures from auntie. In fact, my own, they didn't allow my certificate to cool. The moment I came back from school, my mother started preaching. Oh, I don't have a house that a child will stay for too long. I don't like girls that stay at home for too long. I don't want you to now join the prayer group where we'll be praying and looking for a husband. As you and I are very beautiful. A lot of people are coming around you. Just choose one and settle down. It's just almost like it's automatic. Hello, that at that point we just must marry. But now, what if marriage is not for me? What if, if I feel, or how do I know? Like I said, I've come back to the question. How do I now know that marriage is for me? I'm not just going into marriage because this is what I should just naturally do.
So, great question, actually. And some of these questions are quite tough, I would confess. I'm not going to say today that I have all the answers, but
Of
I
course.
will do my best to contribute to them. Now, the situation you've described is quite challenging. The first thing I would say to anyone out there is know yourself.
Mm,
I think self
Yes.
awareness is key to determining whether or not anything is for you. For example, your parents might have great intentions and they want you to be a lawyer. There's nothing wrong with being a lawyer. Now, if you don't know yourself, you're very likely to say, yeah, I see lawyers around me. They seem to be financially successful. Why
mm-mm,
not be a lawyer? What's the problem with it? It's not a bad intention or vision. But if you know yourself and you know, for example, that you are great at tools and you'll be better off being a handyman, being a carpenter, being a plumber, and you'll be very fulfilled doing that. Now, that knowledge of self allows you to resist the influence to do something that perhaps isn't for you. If you don't know yourself, how do you make that decision? So, and it's if people start talking about marriage as early as 20s, it can be challenging because there isn't enough room to truly discover yourself, enough to decide whether or not marriage is for you, which is why we keep seeing a trend where adult people are actually waiting a little bit longer than in the past before they get married, because you want to have a sense of self. You want to have an awareness of, what do I like, what do I want to do with my life, what's God's direction for me, you know um, and with all that information, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to come to a quick conclusion on whether or not you want to get married or if marriage is for you. And then if you've decided marriage is for me, there is a whole lot of things you'll be doing down that path. And if you've decided marriage is not for me, there's a whole lot of things you'll be doing down that path.
like Emmanuel said, today's questions don't have
Yeah,
a
that's
yes
nice.
or no answer. So there's no right or wrong in the answers we're going to be getting today, because these are serious matters. And even if, yeah, we say we are having conversations and we're trying to have fun with these conversations, they are serious life issues. And there are some people who have gone into marriage not being prepared for it, not knowing what marriage is, not even wanting to marry, not being able to grasp what marriage is. Without, like you said, fantastic response. I think for me, that's just the summary of that answer. Know yourself. Who am I? Because we're all uniquely different as we've come to the world. What's my purpose? Where am I going in life? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? How do I become this person? How do I get there? And if one of your goals, I've heard sisters who have said, I don't want to stress. I'm just looking for a man who earns well enough to take care of me. So their goal is just to marry and live as full-time housewives for a man to take care of them. Fantastic. They have come to that conclusion. But if, for example, like fantastic example Emmanuel gave, you want to be a singer, and maybe the road to becoming that is going to be long. You don't want to be dragging one woman along with you, dragging extra responsibility when you're still trying to hone your skills, when you're still trying to be out there. It's a whole lot. So that is the conclusion of that matter. To say, who am I? What do I really want from life? Is marriage for me? Is marriage for everyone? No. That's a simple fact. And our African mothers, African fathers, please give us a break. Even the Bible said it that not all will marry. It's in the Bible. It says some will dedicate themselves to serving the Lord, which we see. And some, will not marry. But it says if you're burning with passion, then marry. That's another area of it. So don't say, oh, marriage is not for me, but you are living in sin. Because then say, okay, I heard it on that platform. They have confirmed it. Marriage is not for everyone. Marriage is not for me. But you're living in sin. You're still doing the same thing that people who are married. Those who are fooling themselves, saying they have partners. Yeah, you are living with a woman 30 years, 20 years, but you are not married to the woman or man. And then you're telling me it's better than being married. No, there's nothing different. Marriage is marriage. As long as both of you are living there, so you're already married, just don't want to call it marriage. And if you can cohabit for 30, 20 years, you can as well marry. There's nothing else that you will see in marriage. Okay. Now I'm digressing, right? Let's come back to the topic. Let's come back to the issue at hand. Yeah. All right. So we've established that marriage is not for everyone. Not everyone will get married. Agreed. And we've said to know if marriage is for you, you have to first know yourself. Ask yourself the question, who am I? What do I want from life? Now, my other question would be, can one be complete without marriage? Can I live a fulfilling life, and enjoy? I don't want to use that word fulfilling because I'm going to make a statement about it later. Or can I be complete, bear in mind? And I'm going to use this because, the Bible is basically our reference point. I'm going to use this because God said it's not good for a man. And when God says man, it means maybe man and woman, right? To be alone. So is there something missing when one is not married? Or can you say my life is complete without marriage? Whoever wants to go first is fine.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yo,
Very interesting. It's 2 and 2, mommy.
tell me.
Yeah. Why I would say so is that when you are now, I think, like going back to what I said earlier on, how we are socialized, right? We are socialized to finish school or whatever, get to a certain age. If you're not finishing school, whatever that is, get married. And we're not married, and we are in a society that, what people do when you've achieved, right? They'll be like, oh, she bought a nice car, right? Oh, wow, congratulations. She has a new job. Congratulations. Is she married? Is she, So then people now invalidate your success, invalidate where you are based on the fact that you're not married, right? And that also, in a way, it goes back to, like I said, society and how we are socialized. That makes people feel like they're not complete because you realize that, you have everything. You've got the best job. You are exposed. You are everything that you have it, right? But just because of marriage, you now make your entire life look like it's not enough. then you stop yourself from living. I believe that in every season where we are, you need to make the best out of it because God is there and there's a purpose for it. So, and another thing that you said it, Mr. Emmanuel, knowing yourself. The moment you know who you are, it starts from there. The societal noise, the societal pressures will be there. And you know what? Let's also speak things that are not true. We are relational beings. We are emotional beings, right? So whether you are fulfilled being single or not, there are days whereby you feel lonely. That's a reality. So let's not lie. Let's not say things that are not there. We are created to be relational. That's why even the Bible says, going back to Genesis, I like it. You know, it's even the animals, they were in pairs, two by two, two by two. You know, so the person that just decides that I want to be a nun or I want to serve the Lord, that's their personal choice. But for somebody that nature or circumstances push them to be single at a certain time, then issue of being single will affect you one way or the other. You know, so what happens then is the story about the whole thing is, I would call it in the meantime. You know, the meantime. What is the meantime? In between when you are single or between that time where you are finding yourself, you know, because it's also could be a good thing to be single, seriously, because when you have not found who you are, the reason why sometimes at the age of 45 or 40, people are divorcing, people are having extramarital affairs is because of somebody starting to find who they are right now. They realize I don't even like red lipstick. I don't like this food. I don't like whatever. But because of now they're starting to know. So when you are single, what I'm trying to say is we are not embracing singlehood. I'm not saying it's something. I think let me not even be shying away from it. We need to embrace because that's your status. That is where you are. You need to make the best out of it. As you find yourself, keep yourself busy. Find get the right network, the right community. Because another thing that makes people, single women, not enjoy singlehood is also our wealth, the social media, the whatever, and not getting the right support. I speak about it often that there is no support for single women. There is no structures that supports, that helps, because these are ages whereby even health mentally, what do you call it, biology, in biology, you're sexual, you're all these things. We don't talk about these things. Let's talk about them. That's when you become more sexual, you all of these things that happen. So you need to know how you deal with those things, as I say, but still embrace yourself. So I think the most important thing is when you are single, have all the fun in the world. Fun is different from one person to the other. It could be you gym, you read, or study further. Sometimes people don't have the resources to now study further. There's online free courses. That's what I'm saying. There's no support for single people. There's a lot of things that you can do. And while you are single, when you're starting to find yourself, you find that you will even be a better wife than you could have been 5 years prior if you've been married. Because now you would know yourself better. You know how to manage crisis and manage conflict. You know how to humble yourself, because a lot of other things you were not even taught at home. You learn them as you grow. So by the time we are single, what we are not doing is getting to know ourselves properly. Sometimes you don't even know what you like. And it's okay to not like anything at some point until you like something when the time comes. But we're taught not to even embrace our feelings. And being single, if you are single right now, whether you like it or not, you are single. So you might as well love it anyway. Make it work.
I love that. She says,
Yes.
whether you like it or not, you're single. You might as well
Yes.
embrace and enjoy, your singlehood.
Yes, because that's what I'm trying to say is that we never have. You spend almost 10 years of your singlehood not even learning no lesson. And you become the worst wife because you spend most of your time mourning about not being married, not being fulfilled, not finding yourself, not also embracing the fact that God can still do a lot of other things while you are in your single space. So the one thing that we miss is not to embrace, hi, I am single and it's okay to be single because I'm currently single. And like we said earlier on, if you really want to get married, what are the things that we need to do to get married? Are we working on ourselves? Some of us, women, we naturally were temperamental, most of us. You can now work on, your temper, you've had bad experiences, go for therapy. If there's no proper structures for therapy, get help, work on yourself, find the things you love. And if you are a mom, and I'm also going to talk to young moms, you spend your time with you loving your kids, protecting them, providing for them, shielding them, so that when the time comes, you don't feel like you robbed them, or there's
Hmm.
something missing, because now you be double. There's a new person in your lives, and now there's you are the only main character in the situation, because your husband will need your attention, your children, so in the meantime, when you are a single woman and you've got children, and you just need to do your best at being there for them. I know we get busy sometimes doing nothing really. We do so many other things that are not important. So it's
Yeah.
important. And another thing, I think the other one that I will throw in is I think it's very funny though, and it's not funny, but it's very important, is to allow God to be in the journey. And as we get to know, because God will speak to us differently, he will show himself to all of us differently. So even when you're parenting as a single woman with children, you need to ask God, God, my duty is to facilitate these kids to you. Teach me how to bring them up in your way, in your word. And now, if you don't have kids, God, I am here. Teach me how to navigate through life. Teach me how. And it's also okay, ladies, to speak about your, like I'm saying that, and men also, to embrace how we feel. We are afraid of saying these things. And like I said earlier on, that there's no safe space for single people. I'll even be afraid to speak to certain people and say, I have sexual desires and I don't know what to do. And sometimes what happens, I'll go to YouTube and YouTube will tell me something different, and I'll go and have sex with somebody else. But if I've got the right structure to help me navigate through that, it could even be fun. Imagine if I call you, mommy, and said, hey, last night I had a bad day. A bad day. I might, you make fun of it so that I'm prepared for the real things.
Okay,
So
thank you so much, my sister. Lots of points you've thrown in there. Oh my God, like it's so much to unpack right now for me. So yeah, and she's making sense. She's made all the sense. I don't even know whether Emmanuel has something to add, but I'll still give Emmanuel the chance so we go on a short break. And she has said it. Can one be complete without marriage? We're not It's not a yes or no situation from what Sister Moshodo has said. It's a matter of, you're single right now. There's nothing you can do about it. Embrace it. Make the best of your singlehood. Grow yourself. Improve yourself. I saw a comment. I saw a comment by a man somewhere, and I'm going to read it. I will read it out before Emmanuel um will give his response on that question. The man said he was at the point 9 years ago when he was posting this, was 35 years and was not married. And said people you would usually see him and see someone who was irresponsible, going to the club every day, maybe a druggie, maybe, I mean, why you not married at 35? Not married, never been married, and stuff like that. However, he was actually working hard. He was volunteering at shelter with his extra time. This was a guy that was really building his success. And he was saying, look, even now, if I'm not married by the time I'm 40, I would have enough money to be able to travel around the world. But his conclusion was living for yourself is entertaining but not fulfilling. What do you have to say to that, Emmanuel? So is he saying I'm not complete because I do all this? He's doing all this good. I mean, he's working hard. He has a good job and everything, and he's making the money. But he's come out to say, living for yourself is entertaining but not fulfilling. What are we saying here?
Mm. Okay, I will try my best to keep my response as short as I can.
Yes.
I think my first attempt would be, and I'll come to your last question, Mama C. But the first attempt would be to address the word complete. When people read the scripture and use God said it's not good for a man to be alone as a platform to say, well, it means that it wasn't complete. It throws in a sense of something is wrong with me being by myself. And if that is coming from a spiritual angle, it takes an even stronger meaning, a stronger hold in people's mind, because it's
Mm.
almost like this is what God is saying. Something is wrong with me being by myself. And as long as I keep feeling something is wrong with me by being by myself, I don't really take the time to discover whether or not I actually need to be by myself. The word fulfillment comes into play. How can I be fulfilled by myself? And I always look towards someone else to be the reason for my fulfillment. In this case, a spouse, male or female.
Mm.
Now, having said that, I believe one of the most complete and fulfilled person that ever existed on earth is Jesus. Funny enough, he wasn't married. And
Neither did
I
he live
don't
long.
exactly. So he wasn't old. He was all the things we may associate with, a very fulfilling life. He was the absolute contrast of it. Wasn't married, didn't have kids, didn't live a very long life, did not become super rich, wasn't the most famous of persons, etc., etc. But most of us, if not all of us, would agree that he's still the supreme pinnacle of what it means for somebody to be fulfilled. So,
Mm.
my answer to the question of fulfillment is you can be fulfilled if you have chosen the life of singlehood. And it's really important. Let me put it this way. I believe the reason I said initially everyone can be married is because I believe choosing not to be married is a deliberate act. It's not something that is placed upon should not be something that is placed upon you, maybe by circumstance or by people or stuff. It should be something you have chosen, and you should have a purpose. See, you talked about
Amen.
purpose and self awareness. You should have a purpose why you have decided to stay single infinitum. And you should also be aware that staying single infinitum then means being sexually inactive, the other part of what we were establishing. So when you put all those things together, it's clear to us that if somebody has a desire to be married, but for the time being, for whatever reason, whether it is the reason of you're not finding the person yet, or you're dedicating yourself towards pursuing career goals at this time, whatever your reasons might be, if you have a desire to want to be married but you're single currently, then that your current status is temporary, right? So you will still continue to pursue towards that eventual goal of being married. And I believe, God blessing it, you will find and meet somebody, because it's like wanting to build a house. If you know you want to build a house, you go get the right materials. So while you have that desire to want to be married, that desire should propel you to prepare yourself for marriage, just to support some of the things that Mashudu has already said in the interim. But to address the last question about, well, I am doing well as a person, but I'm just living for myself, and it feels more like entertainment. I want to live for somebody else. Again, using the example of Jesus, he lived for somebody else. He lived for everybody else. So if you are not feeling like this is satisfactory for me, I'm happy being single, I want to be single, then yeah, there's nothing wrong with feeling like you're not fulfilled. If in your heart this is what is going to make you fulfilled, then yes, even if your age shouldn't be a limitation. Yeah, there are people who get married at 50, 60, 70, in fact. So keep chasing that desire, keep pursuing it. And I believe you being the right person now, because it's not just enough to look for the right person, but you being the right person, you will meet the right person and you will be able to get that fulfillment you want. On the other hand, if you have decided, I do not want to get married, marriage is not for me, I am going to pursue a life as a single, it is a very honorable thing to do. It's not something to be frowned upon, to be despised, or have a stigma. It's going to be challenging in the world we live in, I will tell you that as a truth, but you can enjoy a very self fulfilling life being a single, unmarried person.
Okay, I was gonna go on break, but there's a question here that I think we need to deal with. The whole place is getting so hot. So how do we answer this? If a person wishes not to marry but is struggling with sexual desires, what should they do? There's problem. What
From
should
I
they
will
do?
just quickly answer that from a biblical standpoint, since again, we've talked about the Bible being our, our reference
I'll
point.
go to. Yeah.
Apostle Paul advised and said, it is a great thing if you choose not to be married.
Mhm.
If, however, you're burning with desire, please marry. In fact,
Period.
one of the things he tells people that are married is your body is no longer yours.
Mhm.
Husband, your body is not yours. Wife, your body is not yours. Because it would be very unfair to your spouse if they are burning with sexual desire,
And
they
they are
are
married.
married, and they can.
Ah,
So you
be
can
inside the
understand
water and
where
be thirsty.
you can
Okay.
exactly. You're in the
Okay,
ocean but
people.
can't drink.
Okay, people. I know you don't want to take a break, but we need to get a drink of water. It's very hot here in the UK, and we've been having heat wave. So I'm going to rush and get a drink of water. Everyone, take a break. Take a minute. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, maybe you just came across this. This is the opportunity to do so. Go subscribe, take a drink of water, and then come back with your questions. We'll continue with love and singlehood in a minute. Yeah. Everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. And we are back with the burning topic of love and singlehood. Sister Moshuda is on fire, and CVLC family are here for her. I just have to acknowledge lots of CVLC family. You people have to come next week. Don't just come only now that Moshuda is here. Next week, you have to come back. The topic continues. All right. It's sweet of you all to come and support Sister Moshuda. Yes. And we're having such a great time here talking about love and singlehood, talking about should I marry? Should I not marry? Is marriage for everyone? Can I be complete without marriage? Can I live a fulfilling life? And I think, both of them have actually said it. The truth is, um, it's still boils down to you. Who are you? What do you want from life? What's your purpose? What's your goal? There should, I believe, and I'm married. I have been married 25 years. I believe there's more to life than being married. Some people live their lives never making any progress, like Sister Mashudu was saying, never doing anything else with themselves, all because they want to marry, they're waiting to marry, they want to, they're consumed. A friend was, sharing this testimony, and I'm so grateful to God that she's getting married very soon. Fingers crossed. I'll bring her on this show very soon because her testimony, she's going to be getting married for the first time in her life at 55 after
Wow,
the
wow.
marriage. Yes, Moshudu, yes, wow. So after the marriage, I'll bring her here, if possible, with her spouse, and we'll tell the story. But then, she said there was a time when she was consumed. All she wanted to do was marry, and it
Yeah.
even led her into dating the wrong persons. To the point that she entered into an abusive relationship and stayed in it just because, hey, if I break up, oh, maybe I will marry, maybe. No, marriage is beautiful, marriage is
Yeah.
honorable, marriage is desirable, marriage is a good thing, marriage is fulfilling, but marriage is not all there is to life, people, especially sisters. I know we have the biological clock, and for the guys, there's the financial clock. All of the clocks of life are ticking. But one thing that is very certain is that when it's your time and it's your turn, it won't be late, it won't be bad. And I'm not just saying, this is not a cliche, this is not Christianese. I'm not just saying it, to encourage, to just make you feel good. It's the truth about life. We all have our timings, and everybody's season is different. Your day is not my day. I got married at 22. Not everyone will do it. Not everyone will marry at 22. There are those who got married at 18. So if I even think 22 was early, There are those who did it earlier than me. And there are those who are getting married at 40, 45, 50. So what are we talking about? The most important thing is that you have a life of purpose. What is your purpose? Do you have an understanding of the season that you are currently? Sister Mashuda already started going to some of the questions, and I wanted to talk about, being a single mother. Being a single mother. You have some of you have children, and it's fine. No, there's no child that is a mistake. Every child is a child of purpose. God aligned a child to come to the world. The child is coming for a purpose. Concentrate on taking care of your kids. Concentrate on being the best mother or father if you're a single father. Oh, yeah, there are single fathers now, lots of them. Concentrate on being there for them. Concentrate on building a life for yourself, a life that can be purposeful and meaningful. And don't just let the idea of marriage and wanting to marry consume you so much so that you're doing nothing else. Because the truth is, you want to hear? Those in marriage want to come out. Those who have not entered, they want to enter. That's the truth about marriage. It's a very funny thing. Those who are inside the marriage, they are saying, oh my God, now I wish I can turn back the hand of time. I wish I had the time now to do this. I wish I had done this before then. You don't want to be in that situation where you are wishing that, you have the opportunity to do A or B before you go married. Like Moshood said, maybe you're not turning 40 and then you're not discovering, oh, okay, I really would have loved a tall woman. You already got a short one, live with it. Okay, all right, let's move on. And then they no. At that point, they start frustrating the person they are married to.
Yes,
Because they are
true.
feeling I've made a mistake. And now I can't turn back the hand of the clock. Or if they are bold enough, they divorce. And then you say,
Yep.
oh, the marriage has failed. This is because they have not in the first instance defined who they are and what they want before they jumping into marriage. Some family even join some family. Okay, there's a very long comment here. The topic was marriage is beautiful thing. Loves marriage. It's therefore hard for me to understand why anyone would want to be married and prefer singlehood. Having said this, I wouldn't want anyone to pressure themselves into marriage. Fantastic. That's the word here. Do it firstly because it's God's wish for you and that's what you want. However, I need to add that marriage is the will of God and is beautiful. We totally agree. Marriage is beautiful. Marriage is the will of God for everyone. I mean, if you do it right, it's one of the most fulfilling things on earth. It's honorable. That, like the Bible says, that's just the best word for it. It's honorable. Okay, but then let's move on. At what age can I begin to give up on marriage? I don't know whether I've answered this question by telling you the story of my friend, but so when do I start saying, okay, I think I've waited enough, I've tried enough. Let me just give up on this thing called marriage. At what stage do I begin to do that?
Very interesting.
Mhm.
Wow.
Tell me, Mashudu, when do you think?
No, because you know, I don't think there is any age. It's just a season. You could be 30 and at 30 you'll be saying that because of whatever you can say, now I'm giving up, right? And I think sometimes it's also good to give up, to say I'm giving up because that's when things start happening. Because you're no
Right?
longer focusing on it, and then that will happen. Because remember, we spend so much most of our times 15, 10 years single, and you're consumed in getting married, making mistakes in between, all of those things. So giving up, you can give up based on where you are at that moment. So it's not like you can give up at 50, at 60. It depends. Because again, being single, it comes for with different things. Some people are single because they're divorced. Some single are single because they're widows. Some others because they've never gotten married ever. So it differs. So you cannot really say at this age because people get married at 20. Some people got married at 40. Some got married at 20 like you did. But I feel, for me personally, I would think it will be on a particular season. When you feel like that at that particular time, then that's when you can say I'm giving up. But I always believe that mostly when you don't focus on something, that's when it finds you. Because when you focus on it too much, you make mistakes. You don't even know what is it that you need to do right. You think you're doing the right things, and yet while doing the so-called right things, you're doing something completely wrong. So I don't think we can put an what is it, a number to it. Obviously, it's a personal decision, so people can decide at what age. But I think it will be just based on that season. When you feel like, I've enough, that's when, because we hear stories of people like, oh, when I stop talking about it, when I stop applying too much, whenever, I think actually maybe that's how maybe God sometimes honor things for us when because without even knowing it, you're actually surrendering to God. Because all your entire time you would have been trying to help God do your own thing, yada 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 yada, calling it I'm waiting on the Lord, but we're not really naturally built up to be patient people. So in between, you can hold yourself for 5 years and do it right. And that's why you make some people, you find a sister, she has been pure for 5 years, the next 6 years she get pregnant, pure for 10 years or whatever, because one way or the other there's a place where we get so impatient because there's a stretch to everything. So I think it's a season. And then when God takes over, I guess. Or maybe nothing happens ever. I don't know.
That's actually a very complicated question. It's one of those questions that I told, Love Crusader, that there are some questions there that are difficult to actually answer and give a clear, this is the answer that works for everybody. But let me try to make some suggestions. Uh, the first one would be that if you have a desire to be married, let me encourage you, don't quit on your desire. Just like one of those people who commented indicated, marriage is a beautiful thing. It is a will of God. It's not something evil. It's not something bad. If it's not happening immediately, don't give up. Now, having said that, though, the next couple things I would say is not a license to other people, but I just wanted you to know first that I am not against marriage. Now, if you've decided you want to be married, there are some people who put a time frame to whatever goal they set for themselves. Right? I want to have a PhD and I expect to have that PhD by this time. And they pursue it vehemently. And if it doesn't happen, they call it quit and they move on to the next thing. Because for them, that's the way they are structured. And it's this is done, moving on to what is next. If you've done that for yourself, or you're that kind of person that you said, if I am not married by 40, we'll just close the chapter on marriage and move on. That's also a choice you are making. Again, you will live with the consequence of that choice, because it now means that if at 40 you're not married, you have dedicated yourself to a life of singlehood. And then you would enjoy the benefits and challenges that come with that choice. On the other hand, if you're one of those who you've decided I want to be married, and you're feeling pressure because like this thing is looking like it's not going to happen, just continue to wait on God. And by waiting on God, I don't mean be stationary or inactive as a person. We've already said all those things about, pursuing life, living a life of purpose, etc. Continue to do that and continue to be marriageable. I don't know if that's an English word, but continue to be somebody that somebody else wants to be married to. Somebody would be so happy to have in their life, and they'll feel like their life is fulfilled just being connected with your life. I think those are the three ways I would suggest to that question, because it's really a tricky one.
Complicated.
Yeah. I agree, because even I did not think I have an answer for it when I thought about it, but it was it was something that came to my mind after this sweet friend of mine, I said, shared her testimony, and I was like, then why should someone who wants to marry give up, at 50 or at 40, when somebody's getting married for the first time in her life at 55? So it can still happen for you. That's just the truth. I don't think, if you, like Emmanuel said, if you have the desire to marry, just keep yourself marriageable, put yourself out there, be available. Because now that we're saying, oh, build a life, build yourself. For some people, build yourself and build a life means throwing themselves totally into a career, not having a social life, never going anywhere they will be seen. There was a point we got to in our youth fellowship in church when I was still a youth, and some youth sisters and brothers who were not married felt like they were too big for the youth church, just because they were at certain age. You're still a youth, you are still in the youth fellowship, you still have to mingle with the singles, because that is where you mingle and see someone, or someone will see you. If you don't, if for example you don't go to club, you don't go to, I don't know, pubs, you go to church, then you should also be part of maybe a youth fellowship where you can meet a brother. There are a lot of testimonies about people meet each other in choir, in youth fellowship. I'm not trying to talk about some people, but we know those who met themselves in choir, while some people were playing the drums and the sister was singing, and then love happened. So put yourself out there. That's what we're saying. And when man say be marriageable, build yourself, continue to trust and be open, be relatable, be relatable. Don't say, oh, I'm 40, you carry your face, and you see some ladies walking on the street, you're even afraid to say hello to them. Be relatable, be open-minded. You don't know where your blessing is going to come from. Now we're just talking about ladies. What about the guys? The same thing for you as a guy. If you have made up your mind to get married, open your eyes while you pray. This is a situation of watch and pray. It's not, oh, I'm praying, I'm waiting on the Lord, but you're not watching. And then the beautiful sisters are passing by. The beautiful sisters are passing by and passing by. Watch, open your eyes and pray and see the blessing that God has put before you. There's no angel anywhere. God is not going to drop any perfect person from heaven. And I think this is one of the reasons why people stay long in singlehood. You're looking for that very perfect person. It's not there. Hello, single brothers and sisters. Let me help you to help yourself. There's no perfect human being anywhere. In fact, those days we used to say, oh, if you get 70 or you get 80, that's A now. Take it. I've even dropped the bar a little low. I'm sorry. If you get 60 and 50, marry and start building yourselves together and start correcting yourself together and start growing together and start learning yourself. Because the more, the world is becoming what it is now, the more difficult it is to find the kind of men or women that some of us are looking for. Okay, some people need to expose me as usual. I don't know why they always want to tell
So
everyone my story
can I
in this
can I
place.
can I quickly add a comment about biological clock
That's where I was
and
going to
how
go there. I was going to say we don't have time for all of the other
ah
questions. And like I
right.
said, this topic continues next week. Next week, we're going to talk about how we're going to enrich. How do you enrich your singlehood? While you're being single and you're staying
Mm-hmm.
single, while you're still single, what can you do to enrich yourself? We'll go into all of those topics. We'll talk about how you can handle the pressure. How do you face daddy, mommies who keep aunties, uncle, those our African aunties who are always eyeing you, giving you the bombastic side eye because you've not brought a man home. How do you handle the pressure? How can you find the right one to marry? And I think that's one of the major questions every single person keep asking. We'll talk about all of this next week. But before we go, just because Dr. Emmanuel is here, we're going to take advantage of the fact that he's a medical doctor and he's going to tell us why we keep talking about biological clock. So, someone made a
Oh
comment and say, well,
yeah.
if you are going to marry, do it early due to your biological clock. Please, what is this clock about?
Yeah, so biological clock is addressing the fact that for so many women, at a certain age, you stop having quote unquote eggs, which means that even if you get married, chances are you may not have a baby, and it's associated quote unquote with biological rhythm as you get older. And that in and of itself creates a lot of pressure for people who are thinking about marriage. I guess the other layer to this, and when we talk about it next week, perhaps that would be something to address, is the layer of, okay, first decide if you want to get married, second decide if you want to have children, third decide if you must have biological children. Three
Mm,
different things. You can have children that are not your biological children. We're not living in that world. There are many children looking for a wonderful dad or mom that you are.
yeah.
But if you must have biological children, now what can you do? There are different options out there. If you're, especially if you're a lady listening to me, I've heard of people freezing their eggs early. There are other things. If you're not sure, speak with your primary care physician. Ask your doctor, what are the options? If I want to have my own biological child, but marriage is not looking like it's in the horizon right right now and this clock is ticking, what do I do? You will gain, clear medical guidance on some things you can do right now that may help to preserve your eggs for when you eventually want to have kids later. But I just wanted to say that should not be pressure that
The
forces you
pressure
to get
point.
married. Yes, because it's you get married, you have kids. If your marriage is horrible, you've placed those children in a horrible life situation. At the
Exactly.
end of the day, what's the point of it?
Mm.
Is it just to make you feel like, well, I had a child in life? And so there are other ramifications to that question, but I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, and I want to put you on the stop with on the spot now with one of those ramifications.
Okay.
Because, and Sister Moshidu can also speak to this quickly. Let's take another 5 minutes, very very quickly. What you think about it? I've heard this story before, and people have severally asked me about it to say we are Christians, so I know both of you here are believers. I'm talking to today. Um, a lady who is not married and who feels like we're talking about the biological clock is ticking decides to go and do what you call the intro fertilization
In vitro
to get a
fertilization.
child. Is this a sin? I'll just put it out there as simple as that. Is it a sin? Is it an option
I
for
think
single women?
I think that is more ethical, theological question than it is medical. Medically speaking, it is
Of course,
possible.
I'm asking
There are
you as a
people who do.
believer. I'm not asking you as a doctor now. Tell me, what do you think?
It's like asking me what do I think about
How
Sister
much you do? What do you think? Emmanuel is
Mary in the
saying
Bible
about it.
getting having a child without the influence of Joseph. I don't know. This one is I don't know. That's my answer for now. I'll think about it.
Everyone is running away from the answer. Stabashudu, what do you think?
Mommy, I'm gonna go back to. I think at some point, as children of the Most High God, we must understand we're in the 2020s. Certain things that were in those days of Abraham and them, it was that time. And now, like a very good example for a sister, there are people that I know of people that they are still virgin as we speak. They are 40 something years old. So what will happen when they get married at 50? You see. So I mean, some of these things we must just be as realistic as we can be. So for this person, they've kept themselves pure, right? And now the biological clock stops for them not to have kids. But prior to that, they're thinking, let me just plan, let me freeze my eggs for and the chances are some of them might not, we don't know the story because God decides on that. But I'm saying maybe where we are currently, it's very challenging to answer certain questions because these are people's real stories. These are real things that happen to real people, and they're Christians for that matter. That's the reason why they're pure till today.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah.
Like we have said, you give us your options, your idea, your thoughts. Talk to us. Let's know what you think. I mean, there are Christians and there are non-Christians out there. Is that an option really for a non-believer or for a believer to go through? Are they trying to play God by trying to now have kids without being married? They say, okay, my biological clock is ticking, let me have kids. But I think for me, rather than go through intro fertilization and all those kind of process, I would advise, like Emmanuel said, there are a lot of children out there who are crying for a mommy, who are crying for a family. If you really really you want to satisfy your maternal instinct and motherly craving, go and adopt one. That would be my own advice. And I'm saying this as a person, not from any biblical standpoint. I'm not telling you it's a sin if you choose to do that. But anyways, I just kind of feel like it feels like we're
That's a
trying to
very
play God to say, okay, now my
well.
biological
Are
clock
we
is ticking.
playing God when we do heart transplant?
All right,
Are we
let's move
playing
on.
God when we
Thank
do
you everyone for
kidney
coming.
transplant? So it's challenging. That's why
You're
we'll continue
pushing.
next week. Very good questions for next week.
Like I told you from the onset, we are not going to finish this topic today. There's a whole lot of layers to it, but these wonderful people have unpacked some of it, and we've laid a very good foundation for it. Someone said being single is a calling. Married or single is a calling. Use it well. fulfill your purpose. Whatever season that you are now, don't sit and mope around. Don't wait for life to happen to you. Take your chances. Be out there. Fulfill life. Enjoy life. If you're single, it's your opportunity to travel. Nobody's gonna ask you, hello, where have you been for 3 days? Where have you been for 4 days? Go out there, see the world, meet people. There's a whole lot. Now, when I plan vacation, I have to be planning and thinking in my head, okay, my husband, okay, yeah, maybe sometimes my children are now grown, so thank God I don't really have to go anywhere with them. But I mean, I can't be planning vacation now really and not think of, okay, my husband. But as a single person, one person's ticket is cheaper. Go around the world, see the
You know,
world, go and I'm giving you ideas and we'll talk more about them next week. Like I said, our time is not enough. But thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your comments. Please ask us questions. Go to our Facebook page. There is a WhatsApp number there, and your question will come straight to us if you send it in. Next week, we'll be back here. I would have a widow here and a bachelor. So the young unmarried guy is coming here to tell us what it means to be single and what is going on with the guys, just as Sister Moshudu has told us today. And I'm not going to miss saying it. Sister Moshudu is single. If you are a very smart brother, you can see this is a smart, intelligent, God-fearing, beautiful sister. Yes, I'm marketing her. She's my child. And I want to see her married because I know she desires to be married. She's not one of those who has chosen not to be married. And I know God will do it for every one of us who desire to be married. It will happen in God's time. But while you're waiting, please make the best of your situation and make the best of your life. Thank you again, Dr. Emmanuel. Thank you, Moshudu. Thank you to all of you who have given us
thank you,
comments. Thank
mommy.
you,
Thank you, Dr.
CBS
Emmanuel.
family, for showing up today. Sister Moshudu. Let's see you again next week. All right. Love you all. Have a
Thank you.
love-filled week and join us again. And remember to share. You could be helping someone. Bye.